Miss Corbett here. So today we're going to think about those picture books, how they help us climb the story mountain, how the illustrations can give us clues about the characters' traits and feelings throughout the story as we pass through the pages. But we're reading a book with no pictures, so how can we follow up feelings and traits that we can't really see? Well, let's first think about why authors use illustrations. As you can see, this is the cover of the book that we're reading, and sometimes authors and illustrators show and reveal feelings, reveal relationships, show trouble, or even can tell us a little bit about the setting of the story and show how the main character moves throughout the story mountain. And here we see some feelings between Winn-Dixie and Opal, and it gives us a little bit about where she lives in the setting of the story. So we can picture walk. We can have only one picture in this case, but there are other cases where books have lots of pictures. So you try to make connections between the illustrations and the words, and you can notice how the illustrations can contribute with the story, and in this case the cover of the book, right? How can this help us? But since we're reading a book with no pictures, and maybe you're reading them in your own book clubs, we can continue our studies over the traits, feelings, and problems and reactions of the main character. So let's continue with chapters 20 and 21 of Because of Winn-Dixie. Chapter 20. When I told Gloria Dump about Otis and how he got arrested, she laughed so hard she had to grab hold of her false teeth so they wouldn't fall out of her mouth. "Woo-wee," she said when she was finally done laughing. "That sure was some dangerous criminal." "He is a lonely man," I told her. "He just wants to play his music for somebody." Gloria wiped her eyes with the hem of her dress. "I know it, sugar," she said, "but sometimes things are so sad they get to be funny." "You know what else?" I said, still thinking about sad things. "That girl I told you about, the pinch-faced one, Amanda, well, her brother drowned last year. He was only 5 years old, the same age as Sweetie Pie Thomas." Gloria stopped smiling. She nodded her head. "I remember hearing about that," she said. "I remember hearing about a little drowned boy." "That's why Amanda is so pinch-faced," I said. "She misses her brother." "Most likely," Gloria agreed. "Do you think everybody misses somebody? Like I miss my mama?" "Mm-hmm," said Gloria. She closed her eyes. "I believe sometimes that the whole world has an aching heart." I couldn't stand to think about sad things that couldn't be helped anymore, so I said, "Do you want to hear some more Gone with the Wind?" "Yes, indeed," Gloria said. "I've been looking forward to it all day. Let's see what Miss Scarlet is up to now." I opened up Gone with the Wind and started to read, but the whole time I was thinking about Otis, worrying about him not being allowed to play his guitar for people. In the book, Scarlet was looking forward to going to a big barbecue where there was going to be music and food. That's how I got the idea. "That's what we need to do," I said. I slammed the book shut. Winn-Dixie's head shot up from underneath Gloria's chair. He looked all around nervous like. "Huh?" said Gloria Dump. Have a party, I told her. We need to have a party and invite Miss Franny Block and the preacher and Otis. And Otis can play his guitar for everybody. Sweetie Pie can come too. She listens to his music. Good. Will? Gloria asked. We, me and you. We can make some food and have the party right here in your yard. Said Gloria Dump. We can make peanut butter sandwiches and cut them up in triangles to make them look fancy. Lord, said Gloria Dump. I don't know if the whole world likes peanut butter as much as you and me and this dog. Okay then, I said. We can make egg salad sandwiches. Adults like those. You know how to make egg salad? No, ma'am, I said. I don't have a mom around to teach me things like that. But I bet you know. I bet you could teach me, please. Maybe, said Gloria Dump. She put her hand on Winn-Dixie's head. She smiled at me. I knew she was telling me yes. Thank you, I said. I went over and hugged her. I squeezed her hand. Winn-Dixie wagged his tail and tried to get in between the two of us. He couldn't stand being left out of anything. It's going to be the best party ever, I told Gloria. You gotta make me one promise, though, Gloria said. All right, I told her. You got to invite them Dewberry boys. Dunlap and Stevie? Ain't gonna be no party unless you invite them. I have to? Yes, said Gloria Dump. You promised me. I promised, I said. I didn't like the idea, but I promised. I started inviting people right away. I asked the preacher first. Daddy, I said. Opal? The preacher said back. Daddy, me and Winn-Dixie and Gloria Dump are having a party. Well, said the preacher, that's nice. You have a good time. Daddy, I said, I'm telling you because you're invited. Oh, said the preacher. He rubbed his nose. I see. Can you come? I asked him. He sighed. I don't see why not, he said. Miss Franny Block took to the idea right away. A party, she said, and clapped her hands together. Yes, ma'am, I told her. It will be kind of like the barbecue at 12 Oaks and Gone with the Wild. Only it's not going to be as many people, and we're going to serve egg salad sandwiches instead of barbecue. That sounds lovely, Miss Franny said, and then she pointed at the back of the library and whispered, Maybe you should ask Amanda too. She probably won't want to come, I said. She doesn't like me very much. Ask her and see what she says, Miss Franny whispered. So I walked to the back of the library and asked Amanda Wilkinson in my best manners voice to please come to my party. She looked around all nervous and stuff. A party? She said. Yes, I said. I sure would like if you could come. She stared at me with her mouth open. Okay, she said after a minute. Yes, thank you. I would love to. And just like I promised Gloria, I asked the Dewberry boys. I ain't going to no party at the witch's house, Stevie said. Dunlap knocked Stevie with his elbow. Well, come, he said. Well, not, said Stevie. That witch might cook us up in a big old witch's pot. I don't care if you come or not, I told them. I'm just asking because I promised I would. "We'll be there," said Dunlap, and he nodded at me and smiled. Sweetie Pie was very excited when I invited her. "What's the theme?" she asked. "Well, there isn't one," I said. "You got to think of a theme," she told me. She stuck her knuckle in her mouth and then pulled it back out. "It ain't a party without a theme." "Is the dog coming?" she asked. She wrapped her arms around Winn-Dixie and squeezed him so hard that his eyes almost popped out of his head. "Yes," I told her. "Good," she said. "You could make that the theme. It could be a dog party." "I'll think about it," I told her. The last person I asked was Otis. I told him about the party and that he was invited, and he said, "No, thank you." "Why not?" I asked. "I don't like parties," said Otis. "Please," I begged. "It won't be a party unless you come. I'll give you a whole free week of sweeping and arranging and dusting. If you come to a party, that's what I'll do." "A whole week for free?" Otis said, looking up at me. "Yes, sir," I told him. "But I don't have to talk to people, right?" "No, sir," I said. "You don't. But bring your guitar. Maybe you could play us some music." "Maybe," said Otis. He looked down at his boots again real quick, trying to hide his smile. "Thank you," I told him. "Thank you for deciding to come." Chapter 21. After I got Otis convinced to come, the rest of getting ready for the party was easy and fun. Me and Gloria decided to have the party at night when it would be cooler. And the afternoon before, we worked in Gloria's kitchen and made egg salad sandwiches. We cut them up in triangles and cut off the crusts and put little toothpicks with frilly tops in them. Winn-Dixie sat in the kitchen and looked at us the whole time. He kept on wagging his tail. "That dog thinks we're making these sandwiches for him," said Gloria Dunn. Winn-Dixie showed Gloria all his teeth. "This ain't for you," she told him. But when she thought I wasn't looking, she gave Winn-Dixie an egg salad sandwich without the toothpick. We also made punch. We mixed together orange juice and grapefruit juice and soda in a big bowl. Gloria called it dump punch. She said she was world famous for it, but I'd never heard of it before. The last thing we did was decorate the yard all up. I strung pink and orange and yellow crepe paper and trees to make it look fancy. We also filled up paper bags with sand and put candles in them. And right before it was time for the party to start, I went around and lit all the candles. It turned Gloria Dump's yard into a fairyland. Said Gloria Dump, looking around. "Even everybody with bad eyes can tell it looks good." It did look pretty. It looked so pretty that it made my heart feel funny, all swollen and full, and I wished desperately that I knew where my mama was so she could come to the party too. Miss Franny Block was the first person to arrive. She was wearing a pretty green dress that was all shiny and shimmery, and she had on high-heeled shoes that made her wobble back and forth when she walked. Even when she was standing still, she still kind of swayed, like she was standing on a boat. She was carrying a big glass bowl full of litmus lozenges. "I brought a little after-dinner treat," she said, handing the bowl to me. "Thank you," I said. I put the bowl on the table next to the egg salad sandwiches and the punch. Then I introduced Miss Franny to Gloria, and they shook hands and said polite things to each other. And then Sweetie Pie's mother came by with Sweetie Pie. Sweetie Pie had a whole handful of pictures of dogs that she had cut out of magazines. "It's to help you with your theme," she said. "You can use them to decorate. I brought tape too." And she started going around taping the pictures of dogs to trees and chairs and table. "She ain't talk about nothing but this party all day," said her mother. "Can you walk home when it's over?" I promised that I would, and then I introduced Sweetie Pie to Miss Franny and to Gloria, and right after that the preacher showed up. He was wearing a coat and tie and looked real serious. He shook Gloria Dump's hand and Miss Franny Block's hand and said how pleased he was to meet them both and how he had heard nothing but good things about both of them. He patted Sweetie Pie on the head and said it was good to see her outside the church. And the whole time, Winn-Dixie was standing right in the middle of everybody wagging his tail so hard that I thought for sure he would knock Miss Franny's right over her high heels. Amanda Wilkinson came in. She had her blonde hair all curled up and she looked shy and not as mean as usual, and I stood real close to her and introduced her to Gloria Dunn. I was surprised at how glad I was to see Amanda, and I wanted to tell her I knew about Carson. I wanted to tell her I understood about losing people, but I didn't say anything. I was just extra nice. We were all standing around smiling at one another and acting kind of nervous when a real screechy voice said, "Gertrude is a pretty bird." Winn-Dixie's ears went straight up on his head, and he barked once and looked around and looked too, but didn't see Gertrude or Otis. "I'll be right back," I said to everybody. Me and Winn-Dixie went running round in front of the house, and sure enough, standing there on the sidewalk was Otis. He had his guitar on his back and Gertrude on his shoulder, and in his hands he was holding the biggest jar of pickles I have ever seen in my life. "Otis," I said to him, "come on around back. That's where the party is." "Oh," he said, but he didn't move. He just stood there holding on to his jar of pickles. "Dog!" screeched Gertrude. She flew off of Otis' shoulder and landed on Winn-Dixie's head. "It's all right, Otis," I told him. "It's just a few people, hardly any people at all." "Oh," said Otis again. He looked around like he was lost. Then he held up the jar of pickles. "I brought pickles," he said. "I saw them," I said. "It's just exactly what we needed. They will go perfect with the egg salad sandwiches." I talked to him real soft and gentle and low, like he was a wild animal that I was trying to get to take food out of my hand. He took one tiny step forward. "Come on," I whispered. I started walking and Winn-Dixie followed me, and when I turned around, I saw Otis was following me too. Okay, readers, we've come to the end of chapter 21 of Because of Winn-Dixie, and we're going down that story mountain into the resolution of the problems that we saw in the story. But before we continue, I would like you to picture in your brain this party and how does the party changes the feelings in the characters. Since we don't have pictures of it, just think about it in your brain. How does it look like and how does it change the characters in the story? Now, in your book clubs, if you can follow the story mountain through your character work, or do a picture walk if your book has illustrations. And right now I'm going to show you a little bit how to do a picture walk. In this case, we have the cover of the book, and we can see, for example, how Opal in this case looks at Winn-Dixie, and Winn-Dixie looks back at her, meaning that relationship, that partnership that they have, that friendship. We see also the setting. We see that they're in a trailer park, and obviously we know that already through the story, but we can see that also in the picture. So with illustrations, you can infer, but also make connections with the text that you're reading. So go ahead and do it. Happy reading.